The thick jungle swallows all but the mightiest structures left behind by the Maya kings of old. Towering pyramids pierce the lush canopy, crying out the tales of the city's storied past. What drove the Maya to erect these legendary screaming palaces? What secrets do they still hold after all this time? Come with me as we unravel the mysteries of Tikal, the ancient city of kings. Our journey starts with the first light of dawn, the morning mist curling around the colossal temples looming before us. There is no describing the awe and wonder you feel when you first set eyes upon the grandeur of Tikal. Even in ruin, its power and magnificence shine through. We walk along ancient causeways trodden for centuries by nobles and commoners alike. Gigantic pyramids flank us on both sides, their imposing presence both thrilling and humbling. The early morning sunlight filters through the canopy, casting an almost ethereal glow on the scene. You can vividly imagine what it must have been like centuries ago, when these great temples were still young and the city around them thrived. It fires the imagination. As we draw closer to the heart of the ancient city, questions and mysteries present themselves. Who were the people that built this magnificent metropolis, and what was life like for them? What beliefs shaped their world and drove them to erect elaborate temples that reached for the heavens? Why did they suddenly vanish, leaving their legendary screaming palaces to be devoured by the encroaching jungle? The crumbling stone monuments all around us hold tantalizing clues. At the city's heart lies the Great Plaza, the spiritual center of Tikal for over a millennium. Enormous pyramids dominate the landscape, the Temple of the Giant Jaguar flanked by Temple 1 and Temple 2. These enormous structures were central to religious and political life, the stage on which Maya kings cemented their divine right to rule. We ascend the steep staircase up the face of Temple 4, towering above the jungle canopy at over 200 feet. Can you imagine how this temple must have looked to subjects below, or rival kings beyond Tikal's borders when it was first built? Sheer, imposing, and magnificent. From our vantage point high above the rainforest, we can take in the scope of the ancient city and begin to understand its formidable power. The peak stirs hazy memories from their long slumber. We envision plazas and temples stretching as far as the eye can see. We hear the screams and wails of victims dragged up these very steps as offerings to appease the gods. We smell wood smoke, maize, sweat, and blood, mingling amidst a hive of activity below. And behind it all, the rulers, the divine kings claiming lineage from the gods themselves, orchestrate this spectacle of power. What drove them to build bigger and bigger monuments? How many lives were lost in this divine obsession? As we descend and walk among the plazas, our eyes fix upon the intricate carvings gracing temples and monuments. Gods, kings, mythical beasts, every available surface covered in symbolic meaning for those who could read them. Imagine the labor required, entire lives devoted to decoration and glorification. But why? What message were the Maya kings sending to subjects and enemies alike with these never-ending monolithic displays? As we ponder the whispers of the past, the jungle falls eerily silent, as if holding its breath. We sense unseen eyes following our every move. The ghosts of Tikal are restless, eager to share their secrets. The modern Maya speak quietly about the underworld ruled by evil gods. Some think Tikal's downfall was caused by kings obsessed with power who angered the gods. Their endless greed and demands for tribute grew too much for the Maya people to bear. What exactly pushed the kings to endless war, tributes, and thirst for fame? In the temple carvings we trace, kings claim god status, dynasties terrorize people to rule, rituals demand tributes of jade, feathers, and blood. We lack key details to fully understand what led to collapse. As the shadows lengthen, we find ourselves inexorably drawn back to the heart of Tikal, the central acropolis. We climb again to the top of Temple 4, 200 feet above the jungle floor. We are eye level with the roof combs of the opposing temples 1 and 2. Seen from this vantage point, their scale and artistic intricacy are breathtaking. The power they projected over ancient Tikal is immense, even now. As the sun begins to set, an eerie keening emanates from the towering monuments around us. The wind whips through the intricate stonework, and the whistling takes on an almost human quality. We shiver, the hair on our arms standing at attention despite the lingering tropical warmth. The legendary screaming palaces come alive as the rulers of old reinforce their eternal dominance. In the dying light, details emerge that were previously hidden. The sumptuous palaces and temples take on a sinister countenance. Stone monuments carved into undulating feathered serpents seem ready to slither down the pyramid sides. The carved visages of gods peer out through half-lidded eyes, following intruders with disdain. A formidable stone jaguar snarls, frozen in time atop the highest temple. Colossal masks meant to channel rulers long turned to dust instead seem to harbor malevolence from beyond our world. The mood shifts. Lingering twilight gives way to more primordial shadows. The whispering wind morphs into agonized wails of the suffering, channeled through the silent stone sentinels surrounding us. Our senses reel from the onslaught. How many lives were lost in ritual sacrifice to appease the insatiable gods and confirm the ruler's power? Did Tikal's people eventually crack under the strain of ceaseless warfare, oppression, and obligation to feed this ever-growing display of imperial might? Kings channeling gods, subjects crushed under the weight of divine obsession. Legends say the screams of the dying penetrated stone and mortar, imbuing these final monuments with tortured souls that can never be freed. As darkness fully envelops us, the jungle comes alive with nocturnal sounds. But through it all, the keening continues. In the still and heavy air, we suddenly comprehend the true function of these legendary screaming palaces. The Maya kings sheathed displays of immense wealth, prestige, and godlike power in stone, yes. But they had an additional purpose, one much darker. These soaring monuments were also built to dominate all who passed through their shadow. Their scale and splendor were meant not just to honor gods and kings, but to terrify any who looked upon them. Subjects and slaves would understand the complete supremacy of those who commanded their construction. Rival leaders would shrink from the sheer spectacle of power and influence on display. There was to be no doubt Tikal reigned supreme, brutally if needed. And so, through iron rule and lavish monuments alike, Tikal's kings forcibly wrenched ever more power and prestige from the surrounding lands, until the strain became too great, and the gods abandoned them. The screaming palaces stand silent witness to their hubris. The Maya civilization turned in on itself and imploded, unable to sustain perpetual aggression and displays of authority for authority's sake. The jungle reclaimed the temples until they passed from history into legend. Until now. As we take our leave, the spirits of Tikal regain their slumber, although an undercurrent of unease still crackles through the ruins. The lost grandeur and inexorable fall of the Maya kings lingers as a warning. Even the greatest civilizations can falter when rulers lose touch with the hopes and needs of their people. Divine aspirations are no substitute for governing through wisdom and justice. Will we heed the lesson of Tikal as our own civilization hurtles toward environmental and political crises? Can our leaders temper obsession with power and prestige with compassion and humility? Only time will tell if we are destined to hear our own achievements scream as they too are swallowed by the jungle. For now, the ruins beckon our return. More secrets and insight await within the legendary screaming palaces for those intrepid enough to seek them out.